Okay, so now the offer on your dream home has been accepted. So you're probably wondering what's next and what you should be looking for at this point in the process. So stay tuned and we are going to cover that and give you some great insights. Okay, so the offer on your home has been accepted. You've done the home inspection, you've sent the fully executed contract to your lender, the earnest money's been sent, and you're probably wondering what is next. Well, what is next is you're going to receive a set of very important documents from your loan officer. These are the initial loan documents. Now, the initial loan documents, basically all that they are the rough numbers of what you can expect whenever you're getting for the financing. So it'll include your interest rates, all the closing costs, even the title closing cost, everything should be really close in this document. One thing that you want to look for whenever you're talking about interest rates is make sure that the interest rate is locked. There is going to be a document in there called the loan estimate. In the loan estimate, at the very top right-hand corner, it's going to tell you that the interest rate is either locked or it's not. So just double check. And you might ask, why does it matter if the interest rate's locked or not? Interest rates change on a daily, even sometimes hourly basis. So if you're expecting a specific interest rate and you're okay with the one that you and your lender has spoken about, you need to make sure that he has locked it in. What the lock does is it guarantees your interest rate for a specific period of time. On average, it's anywhere from 30 to 60 days. So it just depends on when your loan is closing. And so, or when you're actually closing on the property. If your property is closing, say, in the next 45 days, you're going to want to make sure that interest rate is locked in for at least 60 days. Now, that's just the initial paperwork. There's other paperwork in there as well. There's going to be what's referred to as the 1003, or it's the mortgage application. And this has all of your pertinent information in there. You're going to want to go through that as well to make sure it's all correct. So it's going to include, obviously, your general personal information like your name, your current address, date of birth, social security number, and things like that. But some of the things you want to look for and make sure that they are accurate is your employment information. Make sure that the employment information has the correct length of employment, and also make sure that your income is fairly correct. And if there's any questions, like hopefully by this time you've already sent your income documentation into your lender. If you haven't, that potentially could be a big red flag, but hopefully by this time you have sent all of that in. But just make sure that it's correct. If you have questions on it, make sure you reach out to your lender and at least get clarification on it, or make sure that they update it, because sometimes changing your income can completely change how the loan works. So just make sure you want to check that. You also want to check your asset section. Make sure that all your assets are listed properly. If they're not, once again, just reach out to the lender and talk to them about it, get clarification on it. Now, what happens at this point? So you send out so that the lender sends you all these initial documents. 99% of the time, they should be stuff that is electronically signed. So you're able to review it online, sign it electronically, download a copy for your records. But after that process is all complete, the next step that you'll hear is the appraisal. The initial loan documents allow the lender to go out and start ordering services on your behalf. One of them is the appraisal. And so that is, once these documents go out and you sign them, that gives the lender the green light to go ahead and order the appraisal. So just so you are aware, if there's any delays in these documents, you can typically expect there's going to be a delay in getting the appraisal ordered and getting it back. Now, just depending on the area you live in, some areas the appraisals can get done very, very fast. Other areas, it can take a few weeks. So on average, what you want to look at is an appraisal takes typically somewhere between 7 to 14 days. I would say right now they're somewhere right around the 7 to 10 day mark on average. Um, One of the other things in this the next process is once that appraisal comes back, the lender is going to make sure that they have everything that they need. So they're going to make sure that they have your updated income documentation. They're going to make sure they have updated bank statements. So if you spoke to the lender maybe 60 days ago, they're going to ask you for updated paycheck stubs and updated bank statements. Hopefully they've already got things like your W-2s and your tax returns and any of your quarterly retirement statements. So they won't necessarily need that, but they will typically need the updated income and bank statements. So don't be surprised if that's a request. But once they have that from you, what they're going to do is they're going to put the entire package together and they're going to submit it to an underwriter. So this is the person that actually goes through and approves your loan. So what will happen, they are going to go and they're going to look through your income documentation. They're going to make sure that there are proper verifications from the lender or the loan officer, making sure that they've gone out, they've actually verified your employment, things like that. And they're going to make sure that it all meets whatever specific guideline is required for the loan that you're going for. So now there are conventional loans, there's FHA loans, VA, USDA loans. Just depending on what loan program you're going with, the underwriter makes sure that all the information that's provided meets the guidelines for that specific program. Once they do that, hope if the loan officer's done their job correctly, um, the the underwriter will come back with what's referred to as final conditions. So there might be something that is needed. 90% of the time it's something small, maybe a clarification on income or clarification on a bank statement. Maybe there's a deposit they have questions about, or even sometimes there's a withdrawal that they have questions about. Sometimes we've seen withdrawals, yeah, that are on a repeated basis, like for sometimes even a babysitter, believe it or not, and they see a repeated withdrawal or debit from your bank account, and they want to make sure that it's not an undisclosed debt. So sometimes there's things like that. Sometimes there's things like when the appraisal does come back or the title work comes back, the underwriter will have questions about that. So at that point, what happens is the loan officer reaches out to whatever party is responsible for that final loan condition. So if it's a borrower condition, they're going to reach out to them. If it's a title condition or an appraisal condition or even a homeowner's insurance condition, they will reach out to the appropriate parties to make sure that they get things resolved. So that's always something to look for. So and typically, whenever your file or your loan gets pushed into underwriting, you're going to get a notification. And typically, underwriting takes anywhere from, just depending on the specific lender, it can take 24 hours. It can take sometimes, 3 to 4 days. So, but once it goes in, you should be I would typically reach out to the lender if the lender hasn't already reached out to you and ask them, so when should I expect the initial approval to come in? And then what happens is the initial approval comes, or they'll tell you, and they say, hey, the initial approval is going to be, 48 hours from now. And so just mark it on your calendar, wait 48 hours. If you haven't heard from the lender, call them back. And you just want to make sure that there's nothing on your end that needs to be done. So don't be afraid to reach out to them wanting to know the status of the initial approval. But once that's done, it's typically a waiting game. You send in your final conditions, you get the final approval, and then once the final approval happens, actually not even once the final approval happens, once the initial approval happens, one thing that the lender should be doing is sending out what's referred to as the closing disclosure. One of the important things about receiving the closing disclosure is because it will determine the time frame in which you can close. So if you're expecting to close on your home tomorrow and you haven't received your closing disclosure, unfortunately you won't be closing on your home tomorrow. It's required by law that there's a 3-day review period after you sign the before you can close on the actual home. So for example, if you close on Monday, or if you sign the closing disclosure on Monday, the soonest that you can actually sign and close on your home would be Thursday, because you have to wait Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That is the 3 days. The day you sign counts as one of the 3 days. And then when the third day is over, you can actually close on your home. So if you, like I said, if you sign it on a Monday, you wait Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and you can actually close on your home on the Thursday. So always keep that in mind. Now, these are just some of the things that we're going over. In the next video, we're going to talk about the final approval and what to look for. We're going to talk about the final approval, what to expect at signing, and post-closing. So after you've closed, after you've signed all the loan documents, and after you take possession of the homes, there are things that you want to keep in mind. So we're going to go over all of that in the next video. Now, in the meantime, if you ever have any questions, doesn't matter where you're at in the country, I'm here to help. Reach out to me via email, send me a text. All of my information is on my channel. Don't hesitate to reach out. Once again, if you have any questions, I'm here to help. And remember, stay keen on home loans. Talk to you soon.